The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi,
All right.
everyone, and welcome to Mastering Busy Season Workflows with Aero and Uncat. We've got Brandon Bruce from Uncat and Laura Redmond from Aero. Before we get started, we're going to launch a quick poll, and then I'm going to let Brandon and Laura take it away. So we just a quick question asking what accounting software you use, and you can select more than one. And we're just going to leave this up here for 60 seconds. And so Laura, you if you want to take the poll down when it looks like most people have answered.
We're at about 80% now. Okay, 90, everyone's still voting. Okay, yep, 100%. Wow, thanks everybody. Okay.
Right.
So do you want the results?
Yeah.
We had 64% on QuickBooks Online, 71% on QuickBooks Desktop, 21% on Xero, 7% Sage, and 14% other. Thanks everybody.
Nice. That's fascinating.
I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself. Take some time to tell everybody who you are and what you're doing. Laura, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I'm Laura Redmond. I'm so glad you're all here today. I run an accounting firm in Northern California in San Francisco Bay Area, which is also called Silicon Valley. And it's our 18th year. And we moved all of our clients to QuickBooks Online somewhere around 2010, 2011, we started doing that. So we've been comfortably working in a whole cloud-based paperless environment for a long, long time now. And in that time, we have employees that started working for the firm. And over time, they work in different parts of the country. We're all US based, but we're not all in the same office. And so we act as the accounting department for our clients. In addition to that firm, somewhere in the earlier years, we created an app called Aero Workflow, which is one of the hosts of this webinar today. And this app started being used by other accounting firms who wanted to manage the work, the services that they were performing for different clients. You know, we have so much to do, and I'll show you some of that and show you what that looks like in a little bit. And then the third thing that I do over the years is I'm on Intuit's Trainer Writer Network. And so I've been part of the teams that write the QuickBooks Online certification and teach it around the country. Okay, Brandon, tell us about you.
The hard act to follow. Laura's pretty famous in the space. She's one of the first people when we first launched Uncat. It's like, here are people you need to meet in the industry, and Laura was right at the top of the list. So thrilled to share the stage. I'm Brandon Bruce, dialing in today from Knoxville, Tennessee, where I live. I founded Uncat with several co-founders. So one of my co-founders is Jared Smith. He's a PhD computer science and architect of the app. Another co-founder is Adam Slack. And some of you may know Adam. He runs a firm here in Knoxville called Two Roads, pretty big bookkeeping firm. And they were the first, quote, firm of the future that Intuit designated back in 2016 at QuickBooks Connect. So it was in a conversation with Adam a couple of years ago where he had implemented so many great pieces of software and great processes to scale up his firm. And I said, well, what's still broken? What are you still working on trying to solve? And he said, well, these pesky uncategorized transactions. We're exporting 350 spreadsheets a month, and clients don't love receiving them, and our team doesn't like processing them when we actually get them back. So do you think we could make an app for that? And that's where Uncat came from. So thrilled to be here. We've been out in market about 2.5 years, and yeah, love the space, love working with accountants and bookkeepers. Hopefully I've met some of you at some of the conferences over the last couple of years, but thrilled to show you around Uncat and Aero today.
Okay, so
great. Thank you so much.
Start, yep.
Laura is going to launch one more poll, and then we're going to have Brandon show you in more detail how Uncat can help you.
Okay, there's our second poll.
Just asking how you currently handle your uncategorized transactions.
I can say I have used all of the above.
Right. Most of us have.
I will also use this time to mention, just for no other reason, that my firm uses and loves Uncat on all of our clients.
See, now I don't even have to show a demo. If Laura likes it, everybody likes it.
The clients like it. I don't think they
That's the
appreciate
key.
getting all those spreadsheets. Okay,
That's-
100% voted, 75% use email, 13% do phone call or meeting, and 13% other. Okay, thanks
right.
everybody. So now, before we turn it over to Brandon, I'm gonna change presenter so Brandon can share his screen.
There we go. All right, I think everybody can see my screen now. So this is Uncat. Some of you, this may look familiar to some of you. Some of you may have tried Uncat. Some of you may use it now. This is our website. It's at uncat.com. Usually folks are either requesting a demo or starting a free trial. I'm going to show you the demo now. So the next step, if everything looks good to you, is to start a free trial. And that process starts here from the homepage. So you would simply click the button, create a little account with Uncat, and then you will connect it to your accounting platform. Important to mention, based on the feedback we got in the first poll, is that Uncat syncs with QuickBooks Online. We also sync with QuickBooks Desktop for all of you that have clients on one or both of those platforms. And then lastly, we have an integration with Xero. So if you're on any combination of those three platforms, Uncat is for you. So the free trial goes for 2 weeks. You can try it with as many clients as you want, as many transactions, as many coworkers. So all that's unlimited. Uncat after that is just $5 a month per client. So it's a very low cost app. Our goal is to make it super easy to use and simultaneously save you a ton of time. So when you do that free trial, you'll connect it. Let's say you're a QuickBooks Online user. You'll connect it with QBO and invite your first client. And they'll get an email that says, dear client, your accounting professional, Laura, let's say, needs information back from you about $5,700 worth of uncategorized transactions. Click here to go respond to those in your dashboard. And that's really important. We want to make it super, super easy for clients. So our opinion on that is the client doesn't need to create an account. They don't need to set a password, and they don't need to download or install an app. All they have to be able to do is click that link in the email, and it'll take them straight to their Uncat dashboard where they can respond to the transactions. So I'll show you an example of what the client would see. This is a pretty typical client dashboard setup, which is going to look not dissimilar from a spreadsheet that many clients are receiving now anyway. But instead of the spreadsheet, which is quickly out of date and it doesn't sync with QuickBooks and you only have the option to update a certain number of fields, here what we're asking from them is a description. So, hey, Applebee's, we get it. You probably had a meal there, but who was it with? What was it for? What was the purpose of the meal? Describe it. If you happen to have one as a client, you can add an attachment. So for expenses, obviously that's typically a receipt. For deposits, that might be a PO or a work order. So any supporting documentation can be uploaded there. If they or you have any questions for each other about that transaction, you can click in, the client can type a message or a question, or you can provide them with a question or instructions here via the messages feature. So once the client has updated a transaction or multiple transactions and click save, a few things happen at the same time. Their responses sync into QuickBooks. So the description goes onto that transaction description field. The attachment is under the attachments. It will disappear from their dashboard because now their homework is done and they can move back to growing their business. It'll show up on your Uncat dashboard so that you can review it and hopefully categorize it from there. And we will send you a daily digest email that says, let's say it's me. Dear Brandon, you have 7 clients that have updated 34 transactions. Head into Uncat to review them. So when you get that message, you'll come over into Uncat and you'll see your dashboard. So here you can see the color-coded yellow have been updated by the client. Right now I have the dashboard sorted by amount, so I can see the big transactions first. The client has responded to this one. They haven't yet responded to these second 2. But here I can read the description, and based on that, hopefully there's enough information I can choose a category. So this is going to match up with that client's chart of accounts from QuickBooks. So you can categorize the transaction. If you need to assign a class, you can do that here. You can review the attachments, add your own attachments if you need to. You can also expand the transaction and see some additional fields. So if you need to assign a customer, a location, tax, etc., all that can be done here. And once you're done updating the transaction, you'll just click save and it will disappear from your dashboard and sync into QuickBooks, and now it's categorized and you can move on with closing the books. I'll show you a few other bells and whistles while we're here. If you select a transaction, you can come up into this action menu and split it. So you can split transactions by category, by class. You can select multiple transactions and apply a bulk rule, like I want to assign the same class to all these transactions at the same time. So that's a nice time saver. If you need to search for transactions, you can do that here. So if you just wanted to see, I want to take care of all the Amazon transactions first, you can do that. As you all might imagine, because you're probably seeing it in your clients' books, we see a lot of transactions flow through Uncat from on the expense side from Amazon, Walmart, Costco, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, big box stores. You can buy almost anything. So we often have to ask clients what they were for. We also see a lot of uncategorized deposits from the usual suspects tend to be Venmo, PayPal, Stripe, Square, Cash App, and of course, good old-fashioned cash, especially for customers, clients that are in the cash business, like contractors that frequently get transacted in cash. Then we often have to ask them what it's for. So we'll see a lot of that. Last year, firms and clients on our platform categorized about 175,000 transactions worth almost $500 million. So it tends to be one of those things uncategorized that pops up for the majority of clients, and it keeps coming back month after month. And so it's useful to be able to save that time using Uncat. That's why we built it. So that's the dashboard. And I'll show you now in settings, right? Because some of the questions now will be, well, wait a second, how did those transactions get there in the first place? And how often do you sync? And how does the client get notified? So each client has client settings. You can customize the app depending on the client. You can choose which accounts that we sync. So these are the 4 accounts I'm syncing for this client. But you can choose any accounts you want from their chart of accounts. Obviously, Ask My Accountant is pretty typical. Uncategorized expense, income, asset, suspense, accounts like that we see all the time. But if you've named them something different, it's no problem. You'll just select them from here. You can choose to sync back in time. So if you need to sync back a year or two to do a cleanup for a new client, you can choose that. Otherwise, we'll sync back 3 months or to the most recent close date, whichever is more current. You can also sync transactions that you've categorized, but it's missing a piece of information and you want to get that back from the client. So you might say, I've already categorized everything and I'm perfectly happy with it, but they're missing class and I need to get that back from the client. So I'm going to sync every transaction from QuickBooks that's missing a class so I can get that feedback from the client. Notification settings, by default, we notify your clients weekly. So we'll send them an email and optionally a text message. So you can put in their phone number and we'll text them a reminder, which is a super useful feature for clients that don't really engage with email anymore. And we see lots of them. So text message is a very effective way to get in touch with a client and get their feedback, sort of a help us help you type of situation. So we send by default a weekly notification if the client has transactions that need their responses. If their dashboard's empty, we'll skip the notification because there's nothing for them to do. But we'll send it weekly. That tends to get the best response from the client because it's current enough that they'll remember what the transaction was for. When you go into monthly, which is still an option, but monthly you risk a little bit of shoulder shrugging, right? That was 30 days ago, I can't really remember that trip that well. So we recommend weekly. The dashboard settings, you saw a default configuration for the client where we're asking the client for a description and optionally for an attachment or receipt. However, if you flip this switch at the top, you get total control over which field this client should see, which fields they can update, and which ones are required. So now the setup is they can see every field, they can categorize, but it's optional, and they're mandated to provide a description and a class. And this is totally customizable. If you want to force the client to do the categorization on their side, you can turn that on. Now the client will be categorizing transactions. They'll sync into QuickBooks when they do, but they'll also show up on your dashboard so you can review them. And if the client's made an error or you want to override their selection, you just change the category in Uncat and it will sync on top of whatever they chose in QuickBooks. So whatever you choose will win. So if I were to save this, for example, and jump back onto the client side, you'll see the table's updated. Now the description, class, and category are all viewable and they're all required. So this is kind of a different implementation of the same dashboard. And then lastly, this is the client users. So you can have as many users per client as you want. Some clients are just going to have like an owner or a couple owners. Some are going to have multiple users. And if you do have multiple users and you want certain users to respond to specific transactions but not others, you can control that here. So this is an example of a user that's assigned to just see uncategorized income. So maybe they're the accounts receivable manager. They don't really have visibility into the expenses for the client. This user at the bottom is just being asked to respond to uncategorized expenses that originated on their credit card. They should know what they've spent on, but they may be out in the field, so they don't really know about the spending that's happening at headquarters. So you have control over assigning specific transactions to specific users. And then lastly, I'll show you the general settings, which is going to show you a list of the clients you've connected to Uncat. And it will show you a list of your colleagues. So if you work in a practice where you have multiple other bookkeepers or accountants that work with you, you can invite them here. You can let them see all the clients, or you can assign them to particular clients. So there's several permission levels you can assign here. And then of course, this is popular. You can put in the name of your firm, upload your logo, change the color of the app to reflect your brand. That way, when your customers show up, they see your name, your logo, your brand colors, they know they're in the right place. And I think I mentioned at the top, Uncat's a very low cost app. It's just $5 per month per client. So connect as many clients as you want that this would be useful for. You may have some clients that don't have uncategorized transactions for one reason or another. No need to add them to Uncat, but for the vast majority of clients that do, super useful, we hope, to you, and that'll save you a lot of time. Certainly in our studies, it's saved us lots of hours per month in not having to send that email, export that spreadsheet from QuickBooks, wait on the client for responses. By the time they respond, it's outdated anyway. So it can make it a challenge. The last thing I think I might have mentioned, being able to send a text message, that works well enough that I should highlight it. If you go into the client settings at the bottom and look at those users, you'll see the ability where you can add a phone number. So here's where you put in their phone number. We'll send them an email notification, but we'll also notify them by text message. And so between the magic link where all the client has to do is click it, the text message, which will just show up on their phone, so they can click it, open up Uncat and Safari on an iPhone or Chrome on an Android, and the fact that our notifications will specify to them that really the total aggregate dollar value of their uncategorized. That really resonates, right? For the client to receive a message that says, hey, you got $8,700 in uncategorized transactions. It's like, ooh, I better go take a look at that. That's real money. So come in and provide their responses. That tends to really help on the client adoption side. Plus, and I was on the client side myself, I love not receiving a spreadsheet because it's a hassle. I got to be in front of my computer, open it, update it, ship it back, and then receipts are separate attachments. Putting it in through Uncat where everything just syncs in automatically, way faster and easier from the client side. So I'll pause there. Obviously, I should have said at the top, but it goes without saying, type in any questions into the Q&A panel in GoToMeeting. Happy to answer them, some now or some later or as we go. Same goes for Aero. So if you have questions about Uncat or Aero, definitely type them in and we'll try to answer all of them while we're all here on the line. And yeah, I'll pause now in case there are questions, and then also hand it back over to Laura to talk about Aero.
Thanks, Brandon. Okay, I'm gonna switch it. And I'm also going to launch our third and final poll. So this one is asking how you keep track of client work, all of the promises you made during the sales process. Oh, we can do that. Yes, we'll do that for you. Yes, we'll do that at this frequency for you. You know, there's a lot, once you start adding multiple clients into the mix, there's a lot to juggle there. So how do you keep it all organized as a practice, as a firm? I love the third option. I've got a list. It sounds like I've got a friend. I know a guy. Okay, we're over half voted now. I'll give it a couple more seconds for everybody to vote. And I will say, Brandon, that I love the magic link on Uncat. I don't know why that is. It's just one of those things that delights users. Just having a link you can just click and not have to remember the password on because it's got its security built into the link. Okay.
It's key. It's a key thing. Yeah. We launched without it, so we learned the hard way that clients really struggled
Because
with
they're not
creating their
like
own accounts and
logging
keeping track
into
of
the
it.
accounting apps, and they would feel like that was the stuff. Okay,
Yep.
I'm going to close this poll and tell you the answers are 36% Aero all the way, and then we've got a tie for 21% Google Sheet and Excel or other. So 21% are on those two answers, and then 14% of you use a shared calendar, and 7% say, I've got a list. Okay, now I am going to share my screen, and 1 second while I switch over to, well, I'll start with Aero. I'll do what you did, Brandon, and I'll just start on our website just to show you that our pricing is here. We also have 30-day free trial. You can get started. We have amazing support and help getting set up. So I'll show you all around Aero next. But if you're interested in it, just go to our website and you can see the pricing. It's not per head count in your firm. Don't worry if a new person is hired or leaves and your pricing fluctuating. This is for the size of your firm. So we've got the one user solopreneurs, and then we've got small firms, large firms, and then I'm going to scroll down here. And for our larger firms, they contact us directly if you have 25 users or more for the enterprise version. And we also are used by firms, practices around the world. So we've got users, actually more than this. We've also got South Africa and some other countries, but we've got set pricing here for these 4 countries. So you can come check out our pricing there. Now I'm going to jump over into the app, and I'm just going to give you a demo. Before I start, I want to overview the purpose of this app, why it was built. It's the idea of being very intentional with how you're going to run your firm. You've started this firm, you've got a certain way of doing things. The way you perform your services is very usually proactive, and it's your special sauce. And you want to be able to deliver that to your clients, and you also want to be able to delegate that. If many of you have thought, I started this firm or I started this practice, but how do I hire employees and have them be able to do everything? I feel like I'm the bottleneck. Then this is for you. This will help you define what your services are, and that is really what I meant when I said to be intentional as a practice. How are you going to do things? If you wing it, it can go well sometimes, but you're open to things going differently also, especially when you start delegating. So if you define, this is how we run payroll, this is how we do tax returns, whatever it is that your firm does, then you define that step by step, and then you can organize it in a system, and Aero is that system. And then you can track how you're doing. And so I'm just going to try to hit each of those 3 and show you around this demo. So starting with define, when I say define, the way we see that visually within Aero is procedure guides. I know that sounds so boring, but we're accounting professionals, and the process is very important to fraud prevention, very important. If you get audited, you have to show your processes. You need it for separation of duties. There are a lot of reasons why you need to have a good process for accounting. So don't be mad at me for it, but that's just sort of a really important part of the work we do. So you define what your processes are, and we see that as procedure guides and then checklists. So you have the full official procedure for how you do things, but a checklist helps you just make sure that you do it consistently every time. And that really helps you delegate it. Not just to be able to take the work, hire people, and delegate it to them. But what happens when they're out sick one day and somebody else has to do the work that they're normally doing that's in their head, but now that someone else has to cover them, it's harder to keep all that straight. Or when you go to do work and you normally do it maybe every 3 months, and you can kind of forget 3 months later how to do things. So I'm going to take you through this and show you what this looks like. I'm logged in here into our demo account as Robert. Robert is the person who works for this firm, and when I log in, I see the list of tasks that have been assigned to me, Robert. And so it's very clear what the firm expects of me today. And so I have a very clear assignment from my firm. Autonomy is often stated by employees as one of the number one things that they're looking for, sometimes even over salary. The ability to just be given the assignment and be left to do the work the way you know how to do it. The employees that we're hiring, we hired them because they're competent and intelligent, and many of them are certified on the apps we ask them to be certified on. So this is the way that you can delegate work to them in a way where you capture how the firm wants it done, but you're leaving it to them to get it done. So here's my list of assignments. You can see here, now the topic of our webinar today is about year-end close and managing that process. So you can see this time of year, some of the tasks that Robert has on his list are related to that. We've got a year-end close here, month-end close. Here's a full reconcile and review. This is just a longer close. You can call these assignments, these tasks, whatever you want here. You can set them up, and I'm going to go in and show them to you, but I'm just pointing out here that this is a list of assignments, and these are oftentimes, these are tasks. I'm going to go in and show you what they are. Okay, I'll give you a heads up. They're interactive checklists, but we're going to go into one in a little bit. You can also have email. When you get email, a lot of times it's work, and you sit over there in your email app reading and responding to clients, and it really is work that you want to have counted for that client. And then you also have meetings. So we have different types of activities or assignments that you may assign to people. So I'm just going to click in here. I can see the status. This one has been worked on in the past and it's deferred. This is currently on hold. It's waiting on client's documents. When I click in to go work on this task, here you see the checklist. This checklist, I'll show you in a minute. This checklist is created when you start your firm or start using Aero. You define how you do payroll, how you do month-end close, how you do whatever tax returns. You define how they're done, and you can create a template, and then you just grab that checklist template, and every time you sign up a new client, you just use it and put that client's name on it. You can set it at a certain recurring interval and delegate it to a person on your team, and it shows up magically on their list of assigned work at the proper time. So here I am, Robert, I've come into work, I'm clicking on the first task, and it's an interactive checklist. I can see that I've already worked on this. I can see where I left off. I've already done a lot of this work. I'm waiting here on documentation for something from a client. So when I get that, I come into this task and I can check it off now, and then I can save and close, and this one's going to be done. Save and complete. It's going to be gone from my list, and I'm going to land back on my list with a shorter list of things to do. So I can just get through my work. It's very clear, and I have all the guidance from my firm how we do things here. On this next one, I just wanted to show you about just kind of a nod to Uncat. On this next one, we've also gotten a task that has been deferred. I'm just going to go into it again just to give you the feeling of the clickability of that list of assigned work, and that these are interactive checklists. So now as we're looking at this checklist, just again a nod to Uncat. We stopped here because we sent this client a reminder to check their Uncat magic link, and maybe they had a few things that needed to be categorized, and they have categorized it. So now I can come in and complete doing my work there. But while we're here, I want to point out some other things. Not only are these interactive checklists, which you can build step by step, these templates are also available in the Aero library. So a lot of these templates you'll find, if you think to yourself, well, I don't have time to write up all these procedures and policies, you can find them in the Aero library and grab one and either say, this is exactly how I want to do it at my firm, and just use it, assign it to one of your clients, delegate it to one of your staff, set the recurring instance, or maybe it's a one-time cleanup job, and it's often assigned to someone. And you didn't even have to write up the steps. So please use those in the library, or you can take one out of the library and say, yeah, I like most of this, but I want to clone it and I want to do it my way, the way we do things in our firm. And you can change a few of the steps, add whatever you want, and then again, assign it to a client and a staff and set a recurring instance. So these checklists give you most everything you need to perform the work, give you and your staff what you need. But there are other things you need, not just direction here, step by step, but sometimes you need the link to go do it. So you'll see links on the right, like a link straight to the app. Now, sometimes the step is telling you to do something in QuickBooks and we have that URL web address memorized. Sometimes it's something like that. But a lot of times we're, doing payroll for a client and we have to take whatever 401k deduction and go upload it into the 401k site for that client. And a lot of times we have to go to websites. It's like you don't have the URL memorized a lot of times, especially those big long URLs. So you can build into every step the exact URL to go to that helps the person doing the work not have to go look it up. It's right there. You can put links to help sites. This is an old one. So you can put any link. It could be QuickBooks Online help page that has something that tells you something exactly about that step. And then I'm going to show you on some other ones where you build in your own procedures. But first, I'm going to scroll down the screen and show you while I'm doing this work. As I check things off, watch me check something off. That's being typed into my time notes. Every time I work on something, the time is being tracked. And this is all the stuff I did for this instance where I'm working on this. You can also have general comments here that these stay here. Even when I put this on hold and come back and work on it tomorrow, these notes will stay here. These go away. These on the left go away with the time when I finish working on this. I'm either going to save and defer this because I want it to stay on my list, or I'm going to save and close it because it's done. So underneath the notes, notice this timer going. If you use time tracking, then the time is there for you. Aero's capturing it automatically. You don't have to turn this timer on. It starts automatically when you click on this task. If you don't use time, just ignore it. There's no problem ignoring this timer. And it's not there for any other purpose than to capture the effort that is used by you and your staff in doing this work. And so firms will use this. Sometimes they'll mark this as billable or even not billable, and they have their time tracking integrated to QuickBooks Online. Aero integrates with QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Time. And you can have your time sent into QuickBooks where you can invoice your clients for things that you've done that are billable. And all the notes will pull right onto the invoice if you want the notes to show. Or some people use this to not invoice their customer. Maybe they have fixed fee, but they want to add all of the hours worked by their staff. We use that in our firm. So we run our payroll based on the time that is logged in Aero. That really encourages everybody to mark the work that they're doing in Aero because the time is there. Or you cannot invoice a customer and you cannot use it for payroll, and you can just run reports and see, after a month, after a year using Aero, you can say, how much time are we spending on payroll? Wow, there's a lot. All of the payroll tasks that are marked payroll have this much time associated to it over a year. So we have a lot of reports that'll help you start to see that information about your firm. You can run reports that show you based on hourly work, billable work, all sorts of things. I'll show you the report center. Now I've gotten to the bottom of this checklist. We try to keep Aero very kind of clean because you've got this checklist open next to QuickBooks or whatever app you're working in, Uncat, whatever. And so you can come down here and find even more information. If you want to see what this customer that you're working on, what their address is, sometimes we're doing something and we need to grab their address. Maybe you want to look at all the other tasks that you have assigned for this customer. Like, are we set to do this month and close? What date? Everything is in this grid that's currently assigned to this customer. I'm going to call out here this word Aero as you see it around. After a number of years, our customers started to call activities and tasks that have time tracking and resources associated with them. They just started to refer to these interactive checklists as arrows. So we started to refer to them as arrows also. So that's what this is, company arrows. Any task, meeting, email, anything in Aero assigned to this customer is going to show up here. So when your staff are doing their work and they need to see, wait, do we have something scheduled? It's all right here at their fingertips. They can ignore it or come click on it and search through it. Company contacts. Sometimes we're doing work and we have to reach out to the insurance agent or one of the other accountants. Like in our firm, we act as the accounting department, client accounting services. We will often have the tax accountant's name and information, contact information down here. So you can add those so that when any of your other staff who are working on this client need that information, it's all right here. You might have the main managers point at the main points of contacts for your client here. Company team members is the ability to put certain members of your staff on a team to work on a client, and then other team members don't have access to that client. There are lots of security configurations available inside of Aero. Here is the vault. This is one of our favorite, most beloved features in Aero, right here at your fingertips. Again, I'm doing the work. When I need a password for this client or their tax ID number or whatever their Q&A is to answer the security questions when I'm logging into the bank account for the client, all this kind of stuff is here. You can have links to their folders or whatever. That's all this good info is down here. And then you can see all the time tracking that's happened on this particular Aero. Okay, so I am going to save and defer. I'm going to just save and complete that one. That's done. We're getting work done here. Okay, so I've given you an idea of doing the work and what that looks like. I'm just going to show you real quick. If you get an email, you can just forward it to Aero. Every user of Aero gets a particular email address, so you can just forward it to your particular email address, and it'll show up here so that you can do work. Here's a client telling us they got a new employee, and we need to add it to payroll. So I can do that work right here when I'm in Aero. Okay, and I can reply and all that stuff. It has all the email functionality here. I can reply to the client and it'll send an email straight out of Aero. I'm just going to defer this one and go back. Okay, now that should give you a good picture of what it's like doing the work. I'm going to show you, oh, and let me just show you quickly though. There are different views. This is the same place. When I'm over here in my work, let me show you, I'm going to show you the whole navigation bar. There are different views, my list, my dashboard, my schedule. It's also showing right here at the top. I was showing you the simple list. There's also a dashboard. Some people like to see the same list of work that's assigned to me, the person logged in. Some people like to see this and be able to group it by, I want to see all the work related to this one company. So I do all of Andrea's coffee shop work at the same time. So this is just a grid that lets you, get in there and search for stuff in your list. There's also schedule view. Some people prefer to work off of a calendar view. So you can come here. From all three of these, I can launch and work on that task right from here. It takes me right into that same checklist. Okay, so those are just different views. Next, let me show you navigation again. That's all the work for the person logged in. Next, I'm going to show you manage. Remember I talked about defining work and organizing it in a system? The manage screens are viewable by people with the proper permissions. When you invite your staff to Aero, you can give people different permission levels, from like interns that can only see the work they do to managers and admins who can assign work to people and edit tasks and things like that. So Manage Aero screen lets me look at all of the work that is currently not completed that our firm is working on. So I might want to say, this is a grid view because I get to mess around with it. I might want to say, what's everybody working on? Bobby's working on this, Lauren's working on this, Lucy's working on this. Not only is this what's assigned to them, but I can see who started on things. And let me quickly go and show you. On my list, I'm Robert logged in. I know I'm jumping around right here. I'm just going to start one and let it kind of be in progress. And I'm going to duplicate screen. I'm really going advanced here. Not really. On Manage Arrows, then I can see of our users, when people are doing the work, their status changes from not started to in progress. So you can actually watch people at work here. And you can see who's deferred. So that one that I'm working on the other screen, I can't find it, should be showing up as in process. And you can watch, it's not showing now, of course, because I'm demoing, but you can see which work people are actually working on at that moment. So that's manage arrows. You can also manage time, and this is where you can see all the time that's been logged by your staff, and you can manage all of the tasks that you've set up at recurring for your clients. So this is a screen where you would come and say, you know, what am I doing for a particular company? Here, that's a company. This is our demo account, so that's where no company was assigned. Okay, here's our client, Adams and Adams. What recurring work do we have set up? I can see this one thing we're doing is monthly, this one is weekly, and I can drill into it and I can look at who it's assigned to. Maybe this employee is leaving and I want to assign this work every week to somebody else. All I have to do is click on it, change who it's assigned to. Right now it's assigned to Nesta. I'm going to give this to Shelly, save and close. And all of those tasks into the future are going to be assigned to Shelly now, that fast. So, or I may, so there that is. So it may be that somebody's going on vacation for a week and I only want to assign, you know, a certain number of tasks for 1 week to them. All of that you can do in Aero. There are these batch update places. You can go into batch update and say, between this date and this date, everything assigned to Shelly, show it to me. Okay, and then you start reassigning it. In batch, assign it all to Robert or one at a time, however you want to do it. Okay, that's the manage screen. There's a lot in here and I'm just trying to get through it at sort of a higher level. Here's the template section. This is the area where you would come and create all of the checklists that you want to. These are basically the services that you provide in your firm. And these are going to be, of course, client work, but also there's internal firm work that is done, like marketing kind of activities and sales kind of activities. And if you have processes for how you do those things in your business, you can make all of those checklists here. We have them for all sorts of things. Onboarding, just for onboarding alone, we have 5 parts, 5 different checklists: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. And we have a long checklist for each of those so that we're very consistent. And I'm telling you, our checklist started kind of small. Like in the early days, our checklist was like onboard new client. And then the checklist, every time we forgot something or learned something new, we'd add a step. Whoa, we don't want to do that again. We'd add a step. Now we're like clockwork. We don't forget to do something anymore. I remember our task to work the bank feed in QuickBooks Online just said work the bank feed. And then as we, you know, delegated and trained some of our staff to do it, we'd put in more steps that helped clarify for how we wanted it done. So your tasks can grow over time. But here is the template section. And not only do you have whichever checklists you create for your firm, you'll also see that some of them are library. And so these are available. These will already be in your brand new Aero account before you add any of your own for your firm. You can come in and see all of the library ones are here. And you can view it if you want to just see what steps are in it, or you can create a recurring one and put a client, your staff, and set the recurring frequency on it. Or you can do a one-time, if this is a one-time type of thing, you create those tasks, or you can clone it. Remember I said that you could take something in the library. If I clone it, it's going to bring me, this is the edit view on that checklist. It's going to show me all of the steps that were in that checklist in the library, but I can edit them now. I can add a new step in between. I can say it the way I want to say it. So that is how you do that. I want to show you that. Let me see. I'll jump back to my work and let's see. Oh, you know what? I know, I'm jumping around. I'm going to just do one with you here. Let's do like bank account reconciliation. I'm going to find one of these. bank reconciliation. Let's just create one right now. I just want to show you how fast it is. We're creating it for Robert, and that's me, the person logged in. And let's just say whatever for our client, Cherry. This is just a one-timer. I'm just creating it. Look how easy that was. Steps already done. And I'm going to go back to Robert's list and just, where is that? Bank reconciliation. Did I put the wrong date? I put the wrong date, didn't I? Bank reconciliation. Okay, so I just went to grid view and searched for it. So I'm going to click on that task and I can start doing it. But here's why I did that. First, I wanted to show you how easy it is to use the templates. So either the ones that come with Aero in the library or the ones that you make for your firm, you are ready to roll that out and start signing up clients and doing the work. Let me also add here that we've had instances where a new cool app will come out and you just write up how to use it and you can start new service lines and bring in more revenue so much more easily in your firm. Okay, the second reason I added this one really quick was to show you, I didn't get to show you this before. Remember I showed you that there are links sometimes on the right? By sometimes, it's not arbitrary. It's if you put a link on your template or on the Aero when you create it. If it looks like a little book, it's going to go to the procedure guides that you build inside of Aero or that come in the library. So a bunch of these come in the library. And I just wanted to show this to you to point out that this is not like a book of, how to do accounting, some huge binder up on the shelf that has everything you need to know about what you do in your firm that nobody's going to go take down and flip through it. It's just too much information. So try to make these procedures, and we do in the library, more bite-sized pieces so that this one is asking you, this one is a very particular procedure, not how to do accounting, not even how to do a bank rec. This is purely how to troubleshoot the beginning balance when you're doing a reconciliation. So you can put those, on any of your steps. And so that's the procedure. Okay, just because it's fun, let's save and complete it. We're just getting all kind of work done here. Back to this list. I'm going to jump back to templates. I showed you the checklist. There are also these procedure guides. Again, a lot of these you see come with the library. This is our demo account, so we've added some other ones just for fun, but you can add these specific to your firm and then link them to the checklist. And what's nice about a procedure guide is that's where you put like your screenshots. This is for like when you have a checklist, an Aero, a task, and the person who regularly does it is out on vacation, and you assign it to someone else who's going to do it that week. And they're doing the checklist, that may be enough, but sometimes they want to see how to do it. And they can click that procedure and see a screenshot of exactly what you meant. And that's very helpful for when staff are covering for each other. It's also really great when people start working for your firm, because the onboarding of new employees for us went from taking months to just really days. I'll say a couple of weeks, but they're instantly there. We get them certified on what they need to be certified on, and then we start giving them arrows right away, and they shadow with people, but they have the step-by-step instructions for how to do it. Okay, the last thing I want to show you here, well, two more things. Let me stop on reports. Can't pass reports.
And the other quick thing, let me mention one quick thing, Laura, because I wasn't sure, and Sarah may be able to answer this, if the chat is enabled for attendees. In case there are any questions, I want to make sure we were able to answer them.
Oh, yes.
I'm not sure if that's something you can check or if Sarah can, but on my side, I can only chat to presenters, panelists.
Hey, Brandon, good question. Yes, there's a question panel that they can submit questions, and I'll answer them. And chat is enabled as well, but the question box is the best place to ask questions.
I do see a few questions. Actually, let me stop here. Someone says, can you save usernames and passwords in the client tasks? Yes, in the vault. For example, tax ID and sales tax numbers to make it easier to go and file those returns monthly. Absolutely, Joe. That is why the vault is there. And every time you work on a task that is assigned to that client, client A, every task, you will have client A's vault right there. So that tax ID number will be right there for when you need it. And then another question is, as a supervisor, do you create admin tasks for assigning things to workers? Or do you click into each client as you create the task to track the time as well? No, as you click on your assigned work from the My Work screen, I'm gonna go back here. This is when the time starts being tracked. That's how you track the time. As you click to go do the work, it starts tracking the time down here. I had just clicked into this one, so I already had 7 minutes. You know how sometimes we close a browser too fast? Don't worry, Aero is going to remember it at least up to 60 seconds. So this one I just kind of quickly closed in this demo, and it already had 7 minutes on it. So you see how I just went back into it and it remembered that for us? Thank you. If I didn't answer that question right, please tell me. Does Aero know deadlines if they are state or IRS assigned? Aero is not linked to any main database with the IRS. So when you set up a task, you will say how many days. Let me just go show you real quick. I'm just going to go to recurring arrows. When you add a new recurring task, let's say you're going to do a tax return. Normally you'd go to the template library and pull it out of there. I don't know, I'm on the screen. You can say how many due dates, how many days you have until it's due. So you set the due dates. There's more to say there. That's a whole deep dive. But basically, when I'm on my list, you have the date it's assigned to you, and you have due dates showing. And when it's past one of those due dates, it will show as, or on that due date, on or past, it will show that due date as red. So you like zero in on doing some of your work that is due or overdue. Okay, so we have all these reports here. Just come play with them. Get a free trial and just come play with them. All sorts of things. I love the ones that are related to recurring arrows. I love to see the average actual time it takes to do work as compared to what we thought estimated it was going to take. You can just kind of run through some of this. You can customize these reports and say, let me just see for a client, like, is this taking way longer than we thought? Even if you're not billing for hours. It's very interesting to start learning about your firm. This really helps you with your capacity planning. Okay, and this was where I was trying to get to. Do I have enough time? I am talking a lot. There's our new functionality that came out, how long ago? A year? Has it been 2 years already? My goodness. This is called Aero Advisor, and this allows you as a firm, as a practice, to create an Aero account for any of your clients who need to do some or maybe all of their accounting work. So if any of you have practices where you do QuickBooks consulting, for example, and you set them up on QuickBooks or whatever accounting software, and you want them, you train them, and then they're going to do their work. You could give them their own Aero account that's connected to your Aero account, and you can publish and pass through any of your checklists for how to do things to your client's account. So their accounting department, their in-house accounting department, can follow these tasks in their own Aero account, and they can follow the way you've done it. So you can charge for that monthly. You can white label it. When your clients log in, they won't see Aero, they'll see your firm's logo, and they'll do things the way you're telling them to do it because they're going to follow their arrows. And you will have taken your knowledge capital and not only distributed it out to your staff for how you're going to do work for clients when you're doing the accounting for them, but you can also now distribute it all the way into the hands of your clients. And that has been so hard to be profitable on. I mean, how many times do we as accountants just tell people how to do it, give them a checklist, and you really can't even track that? So here's a way to take your knowledge and your expertise into the hands of your clients. They can do the work. You charge monthly. The way that works is Aero will charge you for each of these managed Aero Advisor accounts for each of your clients, and you turn around and bill whatever you want on them because you're really the one building in all the knowledge capital within them for how to do things. Okay, that was a lot.
Thank you, Laura. And I have to ask you.
Live view.
For some reason, the questions are not showing up on my control panel. So if you see any other questions you need to answer or that Brandon needs to answer, can you call them out?
There's one more. Do you have a customer intake form? Is this for new customers of Uncat and Aero, or is this like when you're an accounting firm? For the accounting firm, we have a whole onboarding process where we have a way of collecting
We do have
information.
templates in our library. Yeah, we have templates in our library that cover onboarding new clients. I don't know if that's what you were referring to.
Here, if you just search for onboarding, you can see there are different onboarding lists. There are some with and without BotKeeper. BotKeeper was a new one for people onboarding clients and using BotKeeper. We also have them off of BotKeeper checklists. We've got checklists for bill pay and cleanup, and we've got migration from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. What is it called? I don't know. You can search for them here. What's that called? Conversion? I can't remember. You can search by the app here, set up, create a client company and convert QuickBooks data for existing business. You can search here. I'm going to get out of that one. For everything related to a particular, all the checklists that are in the library related to a particular app. So here I search for QuickBooks Desktop, and you can see all of the checklists that are already here that you can just grab and go. All right, it's 57 minutes after the hour. You guys are amazing for staying this whole time. We have everybody still on the webinar at the end of it. Wow, thanks guys.
And everybody probably noticed there is a handout that is a PDF version with screenshots that kind of is a review of what Laura and Brendan talked about today. We will also be sending out a link to the recording as well.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Laura. And
Yeah,
thanks
thank
everyone
you
for
all.
joining
Great
us.
to present with you. Great to see Aero in live and in person. Like you said, we got some work done today. So that was great. Obviously, if folks have questions afterwards, feel free to send it to us directly. We're easy to reach at both Uncat and Aero, and we'll all follow up by email also.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Brandon.
You got it. Thanks, everybody.